Hello and welcome to Talking Point here on WESN Content Capital. I am Keaton Shaw.
And I'm Sean Michael Small.
A beautiful day here in Trinidad and Tobago. A new day. We have a seventh president in the form of Her Excellency Christine Kangaloo. Of course, we'll analyze her speech, her first speech as president later on. But Sean, let's get straight into the daily review. So the very first question I'm going to ask before we even get into the topic is, do you think a body, an entity, an enterprise, where there are allegations of I guess, being a part of a criminal activity indirectly, do you think that they should be responsible for auditing themselves?
Well, I guess therein lies the question, right? I'm going to confirm to you and guarantee you that there's nothing wrong here. I have double-checked myself to ensure that I am doing, or those under my purview is not doing anything wrong. To some extent, yes, once there's proper documentation, because ultimately speaking, most entities do have to do that. However, it all depends on how far it gets, because at this point, I'm not entirely sure if day-to-day checks and documentations is enough for certain situations like what we're going to talk about now.
Well, I can falsify a document. So,
True.
but what exactly is Sean and I speaking about? Well, the Trinidad and Tobago Defence Force has indicated that the conclusions of an audit into itself with respect to its arms and ammunition depot has accounted for everything thus far. The Trinidad and Tobago Defence Force Chief of Defence Staff, Air Vice Marshal Daryl Daniel, and TTDF Inspector General Sheldon Ramnanan spoke about this audit. Now, Sheldon Ramnanan was actually told by Vice Marshal Daryl Daniel that this audit is necessary, and he was the one charged with conducting it. Now, they said that what is going on, they're not taking it very lightly with respect to bullets that have been found at least 5 crime scenes last year with markings of TTDF on them. They've stated that thus far all accounts indicate that the bullets are not theirs or not from them. But they do recognize the fact that those who are responsible or those who have protocols to follow, well, human nature and sometimes how man behaves will account for inaccuracies taking place.
The thing is, though, we're not talking about pens or paper or ink cartridges for the office printer. We're talking about arms and ammunition. And one of the basic rules with regards to firing ranges, foreign militaries, police forces, etc., is having meticulous accountability, records, controls with regards to ammunition. Because on a battlefield, the Ukraine is going on thousands and tens of thousands around, sure, but in normal everyday life, 5 bullets is enough for a tragedy. 1 bullet is enough for a tragedy. And the problem is, we've already reached the point where ammunition with markings have turned up potentially on crime scenes. So now, it's nice that the horse has bolted from the barn and you're now saying, oh, we closed the door, and the door is fine, and the lock is fine, and the wood is solid, and the barn is solid. I don't need to know that. I need for you to give me a bit more. And you auditing yourself, the TTDF, is not enough at this stage, right, to assuage my fears. I need more to find out for certain that these ammunition, these bullets did not come from your stockpile.
The thing is, I would question one, what allows for Inspector General Sheldon Ramnanan, apart from his seniority within the defense services, to actually be the one to conduct the audit. 2, I am not entirely confident from an internal audit by the Trinidad and Tobago Defence Force. I would rather an independent body, an independent panel. Why? Though that is going to cost money, it would lead, or at least I would hope it would lead, to a greater sense of integrity in reporting the exact findings. I don't have information exactly on what the report indicated, but this is solely based off of what they told the Joint Select Committee meeting last week. So I'm not entirely confident in it, and quite frankly, I would rather, though it will cost money, an outside independent body to conduct that audit. 3, I am now questioning whether or not criminal gangs and members of gangs actually hiring individuals to inscribe on bullets TTDF or other markings.
I mean, I'm not too sure exactly, and it could be, yes, somebody has a long view, they know that if they muddy the waters, it could be a way to hide themselves. That said, we don't even need to worry about acting in bad faith. If you want to say that human error might cause an issue with keeping track of all your ammunition, then how am I supposed to, if you can get ready first time, I'm supposed to trust you get ready second time? Again, this is not some benign office supply that you know, doesn't matter if 1 or 2 goes missing. If a pen goes missing in a big bank, does the bank really care about a single pen? No. But a single bullet? Yes. So, again, you want somebody independent. It's because it reached this stage. If it did not reach the stage and everybody did what they were supposed to do and they had proper records, right, fine. We could leave everyone to their own devices with regards to the Ministry of National Security. But it's reached this point. So you can't let the genie's out of the bottle. You can't just, you know, put it back in and say nothing to see here. We did an audit. No. It might cost more money, but we need definite results into this, and not just, well, we hope, because that's generally, unofficially, that's how the country operates. No. When the Ministry of National Security says things like this, we hope that it's true and that it comes out well.
Just to give you a quick update on a separate issue, Mr. Daniel, well, Vice Air Marshal Daniel.
By the way, I have no idea why we have a rank so high for our internal defense force.
Don't worry about that.
That rank is very high.
He says that 7 of the Coast Guard's 14 vessels are working, 5 of the 6 Austral vessels are working, and the Damon vessel has been dry docked overseas but will attract maintenance once this restarts. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but 7 of the Coast Guard's 14 vessels are currently working. He also spoke about the pandemic. He said when migrants would try to enter Trinidad and Tobago in droves, and if 2 Coast Guard vessels were working when 5 vessels tried to enter, the radar would locate the other 3, and when they landed, they would work with the TTPS to address the situation. So our borders are secure.
When did that happen?
Apparently over the course of the COVID-19 pandemic, when our borders were locked down.
The reason why I say that is we don't have a military large enough for somebody 2 ranks below the rank of Vice Air Marshal, right? 3 ranks below the rank of Vice Air Marshal. So to some extent now, not only does that statement sound like somebody who is either unaware of what's going on with regards to the reality, because Gamma came from somewhere, and all of these migrants who are legal came from somewhere, right? They didn't all come via the plane. So I just wonder to some extent if the TNT Defense Force just has a fair amount of delusions of grandeur, not any actual mission effectiveness, or even what is your mission at this point? Why do we even have you? Why do we even have an air guard? Because do we even have anything, any air assets that are functional?
Well, I think currently we have at least 1. I know there was an entire issue with respect to helicopter pilots and the air guard recently. I don't know if that has been resolved as yet. But nothing further. Moving on now to another issue, matters of national security. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, as well as the Police Complaints Authority, have launched investigation into reports following a video circulating on social media of officers from the Sangre Grande police station with respect to them extorting businesses. Now, it is stated in the video, which is filmed by a retired police officer, or somebody who claims to be a retired police officer, that the business is one of their relatives, and that the officers are collecting tax from illegal weighway operations and roulette machines in the Eastern Division. It indicates that on a monthly basis, they would go to these business operations, and in order to not close them down, they would charge the business operator tax. Now, there is an audio recording which is allegedly between one senior police officer formerly stationed at the Eastern Division, asking for $30,000 from the boys, or for the boys. The social media indicates that a Chinese businessman said the sum demanded was too high, so you would pay the usual monthly of $10,000. Now, again, earlier what Christopher has issued an immediate investigation. Well, she's launched an immediate investigation, and so has the Police Complaints Authority. It seems as though, by the way, the first thing I want to get into very quickly, touch on it, you see these wayway operations and illegal gambling hotspots. It seems as though everybody in Trinidad and Tobago, I could point at least one on Traggart Road, 5 minutes from where we are, 2 minutes from where we are. I can point to that and tell you illegal wayway operations are going on. It seems as though everybody in Trinidad knows where the illegal gambling is taking place, except the Trinidad and Tobago police officers.
No, but they know.
No, hold on. I don't mean crooks. I mean actually investigating and shutting down these operations.
Well, between the gang legislation and apparently now the burden of proof for prostitution, I won't doubt that even the well-meaning officers know where all the illegal wayway is. They just don't have the capacity because it might be too difficult to prove based on our current laws. Crimes in TNT, it's not that we can't investigate them. Now it seems as though the pattern is things are too difficult to prove. So with regards to this, I do wonder to what extent is this going to get anywhere?
I hope it gets somewhere. This is nonsense. I mean, you see, this is the thing in TNT. For the law-abiding citizen, there's absolutely no hope. You have politicians that are corrupt. You have police officers that are corrupt. You have pastors that are corrupt. You have lawyers that are corrupt. I mean, there's really no hope for law-abiding citizens. This nonsense. Now, I'm glad it came to light. I really hope earlier with Christopher could knock this out.
The thing is, this is just something that you're going to face. You're never going to get a situation down to zero on a statistical level, right? It's just how limited do you make it, and how do you deal with it when it pops up, when you have deviants that will look to break the rules and think they're above the law. So her response is very important. Can this be prosecuted if somehow, right, it does not lead to convictions? We need to have real strong evidence with regards to why. You know, with regards to, okay, maybe we got the story wrong. But if it just dies like many stories do, particularly, look, we're still waiting to find out exactly what's going on with the situation where an officer was killed by other officers. So now she's faced directly, under her watch, a criminal act allegedly by officers of the TTPS. Her response matters a lot. The result, unfortunately, whether fair or not, matters a lot. I hate to say this, but
I think the results will certainly be affected by the population's demands or the population's response.
Usually that doesn't happen though.
Because we suffer from a 10-day memory here in TNT. We will remember something this week. Come next week, we're going to completely forget about it. That's just how we operate here in TNT. I can't blame citizens all the time, given the fact that everybody's now just struggling to survive. And they just simply want to live their life.
But as ASP Ali would say, look, all of these things, good cops, bad cops, criminals, they all come from society. So to some extent, we do have to look at society and say, what is it that we're doing wrong, that not only does this criminal mindset come out of us, but also our response collectively to it is so lacking.
By the way, just to give you a prime example of the nonsense taking place in the TTPS, I mean, last week, when I went to the Woodbrook police station to make my report on the accident I was involved in, absolutely helpful, courteous, respectful, efficient, effective, perfect. It's been 1 week, and I'm still waiting for a call from the police service with respect to the investigations into that minor accident. It's been 1 week. I'm just pointing that out to tell you the nonsense that we're facing here in Trinidad and Tobago. This situation, with respect to Weiwei, We all know what's taking place. I don't know why they just don't shut it down for whatever reason, but clearly, this is just one example of police officers benefiting from illegal operations. And it's actually come to light. Now, we all have an idea, we all have thoughts, we all have opinions. The mere fact that it's now come to light, I hope that this investigation does not focus solely on this one video, but generally across the professional standards of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and their operations. Come on, really? And the mere fact is, all these businessmen are paid, you know. These businessmen are part of the problem.
What I don't understand is when other police officers are so more concerned with defending themselves or not being, they don't want to set the precedent to make it easy for them to be unjustly investigated. I understand that. But the flip side is your actual job to protect and serve is put in jeopardy when things like this happen and the public continues to lose trust in you and the service. You don't have to be involved. You wear the uniform, they wear the uniform. And thus, the uniform means less when you turn a blind eye to something like this.
And honestly, these police officers, I don't know. I think stupidity is being too kind. You go to a business place, you go to extort a business place, and you wouldn't think for a moment that your faces wouldn't be picked up on camera. I mean, come on, really?
To be fair, they're stealing from an illegal operation, so they didn't think that the illegal operation will report them, which, ironically...
The operation didn't report them, huh?
Well, somebody who... that's the point. The point is you can't report the officers without reporting the illegal gambling going on. So... ironically, that also technically should be investigated.
Sean, wherever there's a business place or wherever there's a camera, I'm sorry, you have to be a complete idiot.
They might not have
to go
seen
through
the
with a
camera.
criminal operation. And that's the thing. You would think they would be smarter.
No,
we can't see the camera, but...
That's the sad part. So, the police officers who were supposed to have confidence that are able to deal with criminals because they are able to figure out how criminals think and strategize against them. You're going to fall for a basic thing like getting your face caught on camera. You don't know nothing. We
gather intelligence to cup phones here in TNT. That's probably what we do. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break here on Talking Point now. And when we return, we'll take a look at what happened yesterday in the capital as the 7th President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago was sworn in. We'll be right back after this.
Trinidad, come and get blessed at the Good News Fest. Free groceries while stocks last and lots of giveaways like appliances and toys and much more with live music at each venue. 3 days only in South, March 30th at number 4 Recreation Ground, Palo Seco from 4 p.m. In Central, March 31st at Ancient Alley Promenade, Couva, 6 p.m. And in the East, April 1st, Macoya, Savannah, Macoya, 6 p.m. It's the Good News Fest, 3-day family event, March 30th to April 1st. Lots of giveaways after an encouraging word shared.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Between 2020 and 2022, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service recorded 4,857 reports of domestic violence.
And there was a general figure that 10% of men may be abusers. When we look at the abusers, we found that some of them, it's like a scripted behavior.
Let's say my sister, I suspect she's in an abusive relationship. What are the signs that I need to look out for, early signs?
What's Up Doc, every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
Welcome back to Talking Point, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, yesterday was the inauguration of our 7th president. We've only had 7 in the 60 years of our republic. Christine Kangaloo had her first address to the nation, where she gave what I would say would be a pretty decent first speech. Of course, we have a few snippets, some highlights that we wanted to share with you. So now it's time to cue this.
Another means through which I believe the youth and those who interact directly with them can come to the country's aid, particularly in this season of rising crime, is through the model provided by the Steel Band movement in its preparations for Panorama. For decades, there have been those who have been telling us that the discipline and the structure that the Panyard brings into the lives of young people each year in the lead up to Carnival combine to create one of the most effective youth delinquency prevention programs available in the country. As president, I will be anxious to meet with and listen to those voices, as I will be to use the voice of my own office to advocate for the adoption in our communities of youth programs based on the Panyard model, not just limited to specific periods in the year, but on a year-round basis. This is another aspect of the presidential future I envision, a future in which the Office of the President continues to collaborate with communities to explore and advocate for means by which our young people can be steered towards endeavors that are glorious and life-giving and away from the allure of antisocial behaviors. One of the ways in which I would like to see the Office of President made more and more accessible is by having its facilities put to even greater use in hosting cultural, educational, and artistic ventures, particularly among the youth. For example, I would like to see the bandstand put to regular use as a platform for new and emerging young artists. I would like to see the main ballroom and the grounds at President's House used to host displays such as art exhibitions by primary and secondary school students. And I would like to see the public areas at President's House opened up to facilitate endeavors such as book club meetings and programs to introduce young people to music. I would like to see President's House and its grounds serve the public by becoming a cradle for intellectual, cultural, and artistic exploration among our youth, and in so doing, helping to improve observation, perception, and communication skills among young people. It is my intention to build on the work begun by my predecessors and to complete the transformation of the Office of the President into a fully modernized, highly efficient, and effectively run organization, commensurate with its status and with the rightful expectation of the public whom it serves. I believe that the Office of President should serve as a model to all other public service institutions in this country of how to conduct the public's business both internally and externally. I shall spare no effort in this regard. But let us be clear, I am not of the view that relentlessness means that I must be combative or belligerent. Far from it. That is not my way. My way is to be your diplomat-in-chief, making the case for a better Trinidad and Tobago firmly, but without acrimony or bitterness. My words do not need to be shouted in the public square. There's already too much shouting going on in our country today. I believe that we all need to be calmer and more reflective. and I propose to lead in that regard by example. In my particular case, I have listened carefully to the conversation that preceded my election to this office, and I am not at all unmindful of the fact that there are those who have expressed disquiet with my occupying this new role, and for who, for one reason or another, might not currently be fully on board with assisting me to achieve these goals. I know that there have been voices from certain quarters that have given the impression that such collaboration might not be as easily forthcoming as one might have hoped. To any and every such voice, I repeat Merchant's invitation in the song, so beautifully sung this morning by my beloved Southerners Choir, to let us forget spites and grudges and concentrate, and to come, let us sit and try to relate. I will always be there for you, no matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through. For what all of us have to realize, as Ms. Hudson reminds us, is that whatever grief and sadness we bring into each other's households, in the end, we are all and we are still this country's daughters and sons.
That's our first words from our new president, Christine Kangaloo. And Keaton, towards the end there, she acknowledged her critics, but I would want to ask, though, particularly those who she thinks might not want to work with her and would be opposing her very directly moving forward. However, to what extent I question does she understand the viewpoints of those who criticize the precedent set with her appointment, didn't necessarily criticize her personally with regards to her capacity for the office?
Well, they may not have criticized her personally perhaps at the beginning, but there were criticisms throughout the initial announcement that she would have been nominated from the government. Regardless of whether or not there is an understanding of that now, I think she's very much well aware of why there was dissent, I suppose, with respect to her nomination. I think that there's a given. Personally, in my opinion, as I said yesterday, there is no choice in the matter now.
Yeah.
She is now president. And again, once she was nominated, we all had an idea that she was going to be elected the next president of Trinidad and Tobago. I actually quite enjoyed her speech. I quite liked it. Now, there were similarities with respect to Paula Mayweek's very first speech when she was inaugurated, with a great focus on the youth of Trinidad and Tobago. I know she says she wants to demystify the rules of the office of the president, as well as the president, but good luck to her in doing that, because I think that her predecessors have failed to do so.
Yes.
So I really hope that she goes through with her word in that sense. I actually could appreciate her extending the olive branch. She says she's going to be the chief in diplomat, and again, that is something that I agree with. But all these words are very easy at your very first speech. You know, all these words are very easy. It's not what she does and how she acts. I think her first step, I'll give her an applause for that. I think, really, and I'll pay more focus to this a bit later on, is that the opposition members being visibly absent from the swearing-in, I think it does more against them than they think it is in terms of them sticking to the stance of this is entirely wrong.
I actually don't understand, because we've reached this point now, right? There are no protests. Half of Europe is protesting over a wide variety of things. There's no protests over this, really. And the one time that they protested, I believe, outside the Red House, they went so low as to more or less sink their own argument when they decided to use name-calling or mocking someone's name after making a big fuss. We just mentioned it yesterday, making a big fuss about allegedly doing so on the other side. But what I liked out of the speech, and maybe I just didn't identify with her predecessor when her predecessor spoke to the nation enough, but I got a sense that she understood better what her role is. And she understood both the limitations of her role, but also the unofficial influence that her role still carries. Yes, she can't implement policy, but she could advocate for things and she could bring more or less the influence of the head of state. It's not necessarily something that we see in other countries, the head of state having unofficial influence but not official authority. But I think she gets it perhaps even better than her predecessor, who didn't necessarily seem to understand, look, your communicating might not seem like a lot. It might seem like that's all you could do and it's not enough. But coming from your position, it still means a lot. And one of the things that she said there, and you mentioned it, with regards to being a diplomat, but more importantly, what did she say? Not to be combative in her speech. I do wonder to what extent that was said, right? With full awareness that it's not just the opposition that could be combative at times, members of her own party, including at times her own political leader and prime minister.
Well, that's a very good point that you raised. Now, there may actually be a positive to Christine Kangaloo of actually serving in the roles previously before she was sworn in as president.
Yes.
And that is perhaps what we saw yesterday. If you were to compare the presidency of Paula Mary to just yesterday's, her very first day as president, it hasn't been 24 hours since she was sworn in. But the positive in that is that she probably understands the diplomacy that is necessary, or the relationship between citizens and herself.
And how politics works.
I also think, and I think it's a good point that you've raised, because she went on to say in her speech that my way is to be your diplomat-in-chief, making the case for a better Trinidad and Tobago firmly, but without acrimony or bitterness. My words do not need to be shouted in the public square. There's already too much shouting going on in our country today. I believe we all need to be calmer and more reflective, and I promise to lead in that regard by example. Now, if we were to take just examples of her as president of the Senate, I would immediately say, listen, I have absolutely no hope, or nor do I have much confidence in her saying that she's going to lead by example in this sense. That ties back into the point that you've made, whether or not she recognizes it's not just something that is about the opposition, it's actually the government as well. But with that being said, as the caller from Digger Martin stated yesterday, everybody deserves an opportunity, and I will repeat myself once more. Prove us wrong. We already have this mindset that is this concretized based off of previous behavior and action. Well, she has the opportunity to change that.
Now, one could maybe make the case that Paula May Weeks, being a former High Court judge, she approached it with her experience as a judge. And that comes with having authority from on high. When it's time for you to make decisions, you just make decisions in your courtroom. People can't just disrespect you in your courtroom, and you don't have to necessarily answer people's desires or answer back to people, etc. But with regards to Christine Kangaloo now, former president of the Senate, of which I believe she had that role for the entirety of the administration up until this point. Am I correct on that?
Sorry, what's your question?
She was the president of the Senate for more or less the entirety throughout the administration. Now, bias aside, arguments of bias aside, to me she did not necessarily seem as though she was combative per se when she was executing her duties. So I do wonder if perhaps that experience would translate better, even if she favored her own party in the Senate. She didn't seem as bombastic as some of her peers.
Regardless of whether or not she's combative, and it depends on how you look at somebody being combative, you can be combative in many senses. Look at whether or not she was actually fair. Now, again, we can be having this debate, we can be having this discussion, we can be analyzing absolutely everything based off of what she's done previously, and we have every right to do so. It's how she goes forward with this. I mean, listen, if Christine Kangaloo is actually a cultural president, a president for the people, a president that understands her relationship with the people, how she has to be or how she should be, and the privilege of being in that position, understanding now that there needs to be a separation between government and herself, Christine Kangaloo, I think, could be a great president. She can be an excellent president. We have 5 years for that to happen, no less. Let's wait and see. My bigger criticism from yesterday, because again, I applaud her speech, my bigger criticism, again, let me stress on this, was the absolute disrespect of the opposition. Even if the opposition is in sour grapes, again, at this point, there's nothing that can be done. You know, we didn't have a say, we didn't have a choice. Whoever was nominated, whether Israel Khan became the next president, Kristen Kanlu is now president, it doesn't matter. I think there should have been a certain level of decorum or respect that was shown, because at the end of the day, as the opposition, you should lead by example.
That's the thing. We did not see the government do anything illegal. We did not see rules being broken and a situation. In fact, it wasn't even as bad, I would argue, as what we saw in France, where they forced through legislation that most of the assembly seems to be, you know, well, you can't do this, this is not democratic. The democratic process, as outlined by how we choose the president, was followed. You know, now we have an issue with the precedent set, but at the end of the day, it's legal. It's perfectly fine.
Whether or not it is...
So the opposition does not really have that much of a leg to say, well, no, we must keep this fight going. This cannot stand.
We may argue that it is legal, Sean. I think the argument is more so on the ethics and the morality of it.
Right, but my point is, it is not such a debate that you now disrespecting the entire situation, as you pointed out, is warranted.
In any healthy debate at all, where you want results, being disrespectful will never get you anywhere.
And it goes further to say, well, look, we're going to continue to see this, you know, bipartisan politics where I am for one side, you are for your side. We never in the middle shall the two meet. So to say that we will work towards common interests for the nation, that's not going to happen. At the end of the day, if you're not willing to tango, you can't blame the government for leaving you out. You have to do your part to then say, look, we did our part. They're the ones who's not holding up their end of the bargain.
I suppose we can only just sit and wonder, or we can just view the movie, the act that is about to take place. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break here on Talking Points, and when we return, well, hopefully we'll welcome our guest this morning. Stay tuned.
Trinidad, come and get blessed at the Good News Fest. Free groceries while stocks last and lots of giveaways like appliances and toys and much more with live music at each venue. 3 days only in South, March 30th at number 4 Recreation Ground, Palo Seco from 4 p.m. In Central, March 31st at Ancient Alley Promenade, Couva, 6 p.m. And in the East, April 1st, Macoya, Savannah, Macoya, 6 p.m. It's the Good News Fest, 3-day family event, March 30th to April 1st. Lots of giveaways after an encouraging word shared.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces Flagship Mac Bean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Welcome back, folks, to Talking Point. And today, of course, is the day that we speak mainly about Tobago issues. And joining us, we have Opposition Senator Jerlene John, who is here to speak about her comments with regards to her thoughts, plans, potentially for Tobago and its economic recovery and development. Senator John, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
So, Senator, one of the things is, I'm not too sure to what extent now, is it that you're focusing on tourism, it's mainly about tourism, or is this plan looking to start with tourism but to address the wider aspect of just Tobago's economy, the private sector, and various other aspects?
Well, you must be holistic in terms of your approach. Tourism is just the obvious opportunity that you'll see within the context of a newspaper article, as it were. But you have to treat with Tobago from a holistic point of view. The good thing is that Tobago offers many natural advantages, and that has been so for decades and decades since Tobago has been Tobago. What is unfortunate is that these advantages to this date have not been leveraged to Tobago's own progress and sustainability, as it were.
Good morning, Ms. John. Would you say from any administration, currently or previously, that any opportunity has been leveraged? Because I was reading, it was a telephone interview in which you've actually detailed the plan, though we can elaborate a bit more further on. But the plan doesn't seem very much different to what has been touted previously by other politicians.
Yeah, because there are only so many things you could do with a space, an island space, whatever space it is. I mean, when you travel the world, you will see things that look familiar or vision that you have in your own head being realized, as it were. So you have to be no rocket scientist, Someone has done it, many people have done it, etc. Tobago, for me, I'm a Tobagonian. So for me, it is unique and it's beautiful and it's all of those things, and that's true. However, if you go to Grenada, it's unique and it's beautiful. It have beautiful seas and Antigua and Grenada, even the UK, as it were. The US, they have beautiful beaches. So it's how you leverage what you have. And the fact of whether, you see, we break things down always into this kind of little 2x4 vision called, well, what did this politician do when they had it? And politics is a relay. Governments is a relay. And you progress based on the maturity and the understanding of a government. Any government that succeeds the other, right? Any government comes, well, this one didn't do this and that. That is really besides the point. It is, what did I meet here? Where am I going? You do a gap analysis, and then you say, I am going to take these steps to get me there, because everyone who come in will do something, whether it's big and grand or small, to move the agenda forward. But there are times when you have folks who just get in and they are basically just placeholders. So they do nothing significant in terms of making that move. Or even in this same article you are commenting, I saw where Dr. Vanus James, who incidentally is from the same village I come from, Charlottesville, brilliant economist, and he's talking about the lack of a plan. So if a boat here know to where port it's going, any breeze will take it there. So you need a plan, whatever the plan is, even if they criticize the plan, but just have something and you start to work on that something. It is only within a context you can start the work to build out what is obvious in Tobago.
I hear you with understand, and I understand that you must leverage what is available to you. So I do understand the focus on tourism at this point, but given the current climate as it surrounds tourism, and not just here in Trinidad and Tobago, but throughout the wider Caribbean and perhaps the world, without tourism, what would Tobago have?
No, well, as it is, Tobago has to build on the natural resources that do. That sun, sea, fun, it's beautiful people, right? So you start from there. You can then fill in and say, okay, we're on the same time zone as the US. Why don't we put an international financial center that will kind of build off of Trinidad? Because we've been talking also about this IFC for the longest time in Tobago, in Trinidad, sorry. Then you have these marinas. You have spaces that only deal with tourists at a certain level, because you have to decide, what does brand Tobago mean? Is it the lower backpack, backpack tourists that come and spend next to nothing? Or is it a medium to average to high network, tourists that you are catering to? And when I'm catering to that person, what does the person look like? Is maybe a man in a Armani suit, a Zegna suit, with a Ferragamo suit, shoe, PF shoe, who will land in his private jet. But he wants the experience to be seamless. He ain't interested in a little country thing, He is interested in a seamless experience. I am here to get my boat fixed, or I'm here to do some diving, I'm here to do some golfing, and I want a 7-star experience, as they have provided in Dubai. I mean, we cite all of these examples. And about 3 decades ago, Dubai was an outpost in the Gulf, in the desert. And because of vision and purpose and hard work and bravery, you have people beating a path to Dubai's yard, where based on the natural things that they have, they're built, so they're a big hub in terms of the airport. You have now Emirates competing with Singapore Air. Long ago, it was Singapore Air, little Singapore Air, that was the #1 airline in the world. Now we have Emirates competing with that, or Qatar Air, they are competing with that. Their port, the throughput on the port, how long it takes to turn over cargo, that is important. So that comes up now with your ease of doing business. So they are big logistical port. Why aren't we? We could do this, what they call the hub and spoke, with our airline. Look at how long we have had CAL. We have one with the best safety record in the world. Our people are fantastic. I had before 9/11, every now and again, if you knew somebody in the cockpit, you could get a little lift, like a PH now. I'm just saying that. But that was many, many years ago. And I was going to New York one night, and the captain said, "Come up, Jay, come and line with us." And I was so proud to see our people land that aircraft at JFK. JFK is such a maze of lights and this and that, and so our people are fantastic, and we can be excellent, and we have many people who are excellent. So you build on these things that you have had for many years. We have been so fortunate that we have had energy, money for a long time, and there are some things that we have done well. And we leverage that. So Tobago, you have a nice marina. You do a part of the IFC, so other money coming in. You have agriculture. Why can't we have these industries where we are salting fish, preserving fish? We have beautiful cocoa. So there are many areas that we can go into. We have festivals. The Heritage Festival boggles my mind in terms of the incorporation of our past, the history, and the engagement with just about every village in Tobago. What do you think that needs? It needs branding, advertising, it needs sophistication. Everything can look so village, because everybody don't. Yeah, go ahead.
The need for marketing is something that stakeholders have pointed out. We don't just need, but we need a lot of it in order to catch up. The Tobago's branding internationally is nowhere near close to what you would consider Barbados's branding and how it's viewed by the rest of the world. Jamaica especially. We win Olympic medals just like Jamaica in some of the very same events, but we're much less known than Jamaica on the world stage. Usually it comes down to what I think, not enough commitment for resources. Sometimes the bill is too large and the government doesn't want for the bill. Are you willing to say that under your watch you will implement this plan and enough financial resources into marketing and other aspects of improving the tourism sector and the infrastructure will be put into place?
that's a habit we have in this country. I remember when the airport, and I'm just digressing to come back on the point, the airport was opened in 2001, and there was a little fee of $1, I think, on every ticket. And the people went crazy. See, after all this money was spent, but that money was meant to maintain the airport. If you go to JFK or Heathrow or Gatwick or Miami International, every single day they're building out. Every single day they're making it better. Every single day they're expanding. Why? Because they understand the magic of people passing through. You got to spend money to make money. Of course, you have to ensure that the money is well spent. But you can have a product that run down and old and dirty and lacks sophistication. And you have all this competition in the world that is so aggressive. You understand? And at the end of the day, you are not competing with Barbados and Grenada and what have you. You know, if you're doing that, you're lost. You're competing with Dubai and Singapore and these major hubs in the world. That is what you're doing. And so you have to decide who are my competitors and what it is I am trying to do. As I said, I recall when the last time I was in Dubai, they had 95 million people passing through per year in the airport. And you know what they were doing? They were building again to have a throughput of 125 million people per annum. Since 2001, that airport, Piarco International, was constructed for a throughput of 3 million. I'm sure a million even passing through up to now. After over 20 years. Can you imagine that? It's a shame because we really don't push, and we go and we sit and we talk big and we fly up and down the place.
Well, Senator, another question. To what extent will this also mean a need for tourism of Trinidad? Because usually we kind of divest the two islands with regards to the tourism product. We have two different tourism companies. Of course, we have the ministry, but also the division of tourism in the THA. To what extent do we need a holistic plan now for the nation with regards to certain aspects, at least, of tourism?
Well, there must be collaboration within the diversification of the tool, because as you already pointed out, we have two different products, okay? And it's ready to sit down and define. And I'm sure people would have defined that. We have so many plans. Good people would have made fantastic plans. I don't know why we like to plan so, and we are not executing. But again, I'm not minimizing what work it will take, but it just needs focus. And we have to stop talking about everything too expensive, too this, too that. But we go to other places and we salivate. How do you think they got it? They got it because they spent good money. They got good advice. They took the best in the world. When Dubai, for instance, did the Burj Khalifa, the tallest, I think, building in the world, in there they have a hotel. And that hotel, you know who designed the internals? It was Giorgio Armani. Giorgio Armani. You know what will happen? Students of architecture and design from all over the world for decades to come will go and look at that hotel. So you're bringing tourism money, you're bringing students, and people will go to see the hotel that the internal that Valentino, Armani, would have designed. But you know, we are there and we say, well, why not they take this one and why we don't take that one? And it was always nice to celebrate your people and to really push them forward. But the standards must be international standards. The world not waiting for us, you know. And we have it a little better because now we have the internet, which we are not leveraging. Look at what has happened recently. African music, Nigerian, I think Ghanaian, particularly within this Afrobeat, has just exploded. These people are now earning the same money, literally, as Beyonce and Jay-Z and Taylor Swift and the massive artists in America. When you look at their videos, what they have in their videos, they have their clothes, they have their culture, they have their food, so they marketed everything within those videos. Millions, billions of views. All because it's on TikTok and people doing the challenge of calm down, calm down. What is wrong with our calypso and soca that is so fantastic? Nothing is wrong with it. It is about positioning and people getting out of their bed and doing some work.
Well, Senator, I want to thank you very much. I mean, that's more or less the time that we have. I think we'll need a second part to this conversation, so we will have to organize for that because there's a lot more to get into based off of the plan.
Yes,
just very, very quickly before we go, I just wanted to ask you, why wasn't there any members of the opposition present at the inaugural ceremony for President Christine Kangaloo yesterday?
But I can answer the same question because that wasn't planned. You know, as a matter of fact, a newspaper actually had put that the UNC MPs and senators were not attending. And the chief whip had reason to put out a press release debunking that. So I can't tell you why. You know, I mean, for me, I live in St. Anne, so maybe it could have been the traffic, the problems with getting in and out of my yard. You know, the Queen's Park Savannah is literally my driveway. So for me, it could have been that. But notwithstanding that, we wish the president well. I mean, she lived just across the way from me up here in Cascade. I wish her all the best. So I worked with her in the Senate, and I really want her to do well. I listened to her speech and was quite encouraged with it because she made some of the points that I had made prior. So I mean, if she succeeds, the country succeeds.
Well, thank you very much, Senator Julian John. It's been a pleasure talking to you this morning.
Thank you so much.
We look forward to part 2.
Indeed. Okay, thank you. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
You too.
Well, folks, we now break for news on the hour, and when we return, we open up the phone lines this morning. Stay tuned to Talking Point.
Here's your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. THA Chief Sec holds talks with French Ambassador. Commissioner of Police Christopher orders immediate investigation into social media viral video. Venezuelan teen appears in court for Faizabad murder. And internationally, France's government survives no confidence vote. Now for the details. THA Chief Secretary Fali Augustin met with the French ambassador on Monday to hold talks on Tobago developments. The discussions were centered on an honorary council for Tobago, reparations, and France's relationship with the former colonized world, sport, tourism, sustainable development, environmental protection, possibilities for knowledge exchange, and update on language program for Bishop's High School, the only school on the island that offers French as a subject. Commissioner of Police Earl Hereward Christopher has launched an investigation into a video circulating on social media that allegedly shows police officers entering a business premises and supposedly confiscating cash. The Commissioner has ordered an immediate investigation into the matter by the Professional Standards Bureau. Previous reports made to the PSB about similar matters involving police officers are also being actively investigated. A 15-year-old Venezuelan national who resides in the Southwestern Division has appeared in the Children's Court charged with the murder of Anil Aladdin. 41-year-old Aladdin of Partap Trace, South Arapuch, was at Pepper Village, Faizabad on March 5th when he got into an altercation with the minor. During the incident, it is alleged the teen stabbed the victim in the chest. The victim died at the scene. In international news now, the French government has narrowly survived a vote of no confidence, which was triggered when it forced through an increase in the pension aged 64. The vote, tabled by centrist MPs, had 278 votes in favour, falling short of the 287 votes needed. If it had been successful, Emmanuel Macron would have had to name a new government or call new elections. Well, that was your news to the hour on WESN. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for watching.
Sacrifice of Praise, the Rejoicing Gospel Concert, Saturday, March 25th. All roads lead to Naparima Bowl, San Fernando. Michelle Sylvester, Jaron Nurse, Akini James, Tony Gonzalez, Sean Daniel, Arnold Phillip, Joanne Foster, Positive, Blessed Messenger, and many more. Rejoice and offer your sacrifice of praise. March 25th, Naparima Bowl, San Fernando. Tickets $250. Available at Allison's Bridal Boutique, San Fernando, and WESN, Gattaca Street, Port of Spain, or call 223-7911.
Bill and Ruth fell in love with the Benjamin Moore color Dry Sage, but they tried to match it using another brand's paint.
I mean, it's close enough.
Almost identical, really. Yeah, there it is.
Never trust another paint to be a Benjamin Moore color.
Welcome back to Talking Points here on WESN Content Capital. Once more, we thank Senator Jaylene Shawn for her appearance on Talking Point this morning. Part 2 to come soon, probably, because there is a lot more to actually get into with respect to her plan for tourism in Tobago. It's very interesting. I mean, I would prefer to hear directly from her on it, though I'm not impressed initially, given the fact that, to me, it's not much different to what has been stated before. I think it's more so the implementation aspect of it, but then again, implementation, again, administration has been an issue.
Yes, that's the thing. To be fair, nobody ever said that these points were bad points, that these considerations should be replaced with something else. So we can't really say, well, no, this plan is a bad plan. It's just that nobody implemented the thing.
Well, I'm not saying it's a bad plan.
Exactly.
I'm just saying at this point, I'm not entirely impressed. I'm not blown away. But
what the difference would be, as you said, you know, how are you going to execute it? And I think part of the issue, of course, now is it's theoretical until, you know, or unless she's in a position to actually then be given the opportunity to try.
An approach made during a campaign is different to the approach that is usually made once the campaign has finished.
That is
so
also true.
We'll wait to see. But I will say that I respect her last comments with in the aspect of President Christine Kangaloo. If she succeeds, the entire nation succeeds.
Yes.
So we wish her all the very best. By the way, Senator, that message is also very much relevant to the opposition. Just remember that. If the opposition succeeds, Trinidad and Tobago succeeds.
And one also should remind opposition supporters, vice versa. Voters should understand that the other party, whichever one it is, or all of them, you should not just pray for them to fail. You should pray for them to be successful. You want to win because you were even better, not because there was no competition.
So, I'll tell you what, let's open up the phone lines now, ladies and gentlemen, where we give you the opportunity to comment. Please share with us your thoughts and opinions. Kindly ask that you mute your television when calling into the program. Do not call in at the very last minute. Please be respectful of your time and respectful of other callers. We have a call on the line with us from Pissy Valley. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sean and Keaton.
Good morning.
I want to congratulate Miss Christine Kangaloo on her inauguration yesterday. I watched the whole thing and I thought it was a very, very good inauguration. Her speech, to me, in my opinion, was excellent. If she can deliver on what she said, I wish her well. I like her. I want to point up some point in her speech what I like. She wanted to demystify the presidentship to primary school children and up. She wanted to open the grounds of the president to culture for the youths, to play pandia and their art. Excellent. She even said that I have a project in a primary school in South already doing stuff. She wanted to go on that. And she even gave out an olive branch to her distractors to let's sit and talk, don't mind you didn't support me, and stop all this spite and hate. Having said that, one more thing before I leave, the opposition, by not showing up, didn't do themselves no good. I saw a lot of school children there. So if a school child was to ask to do a research, why the other branch of government, Miss, wasn't there, the opposition wasn't there in the inauguration, what did the teacher tell them? They don't like Miss Christine Kangaloo, so they boycotted? No. And Jolene John, when they asked her the question this morning, I must say she spoke well, but the excuse fall flat. So what about all the other members of the opposition, them could not leave the garage through to come. So, having said that, guys, have a nice day.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
caller.
caller.
Have a good day. We have a caller on the line with us from San Fernando. Good morning, caller.
Hey, morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I'm so disappointed in all that I heard from Miss John. All smoke and nothing else, as far as I'm concerned. All those big grand plans she talks about. Tobago is a unique situation with respect to tourism.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really want to support the tourism in Tobago, they need to start by supporting that new Tobago bill. That's what they need to do as an opposition, firstly, to get things going in Tobago. What I'd like to comment on, however, is the GSC meeting with the gentlemen of the
Defense Force.
What do you call it?
The Trans-Tobago Defense Force.
Guard,
yeah.
And the Air Guard.
Mm-hmm.
I need to say something to the Chief of Defense Staff. That issue with talk about ammunition, finding ammunition purportedly belong to the protective service, their protective service in particular, on crime scenes. And he said that they were doing an audit, and the audit has been 95% been completed, and
Yes.
so far they found nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That is a farce. This is an internal audit. We know how those organizations, including the police service, how they support one another. As in America, they call it the blue wall for the police, where they keep things internal and they know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a transparency, bring in an external auditor, bring in PricewaterhouseCoopers, one of those other firms, and let them do an audit, and then let us see where the chips fall.
Yes.
Because I remember having that same conversation, gentlemen, when Mervyn Dillon was head of the service. Mervyn Dillon.
Edmund Dillon.
Edmund Dillon.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you. And I told him for a fact that their officers were the ones putting ammunition on the street, and he chastised me for that. When I knew that for a fact. Did they investigate it? No. And it is still going on. And they need to get a handle on this, because they are unwittingly, they are the ones that are supporting crime as well from within. There's an element within all those services that are criminal, and they have to weed them out. They have to put more effort into weeding these young men out. Thank you.
Have a good day, caller. I think we share similar opinions, caller. We have a caller there with us from Davide. Good morning, caller.
Very pleasant morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning. Wonderful program as usual.
Thank
I
you.
want to join with you all and your other callers in congratulating on a wonderful speech yesterday, and we look forward to the show now. Something that most of our presidents have been failing to do is proclamation of certain acts and certain laws that
all right.
Cool. And that kind of thing. Then.
Caller, you're breaking up. Caller, can you hear me?
Respect to the police.
All right, guys, I think we're going to have to... Call, if you can hear us, we do apologize. It seems as though the signal was rather poor.
Yeah.
You can call back in to make your point. We will definitely take the phone call. We apologize for having to cut you, but it was terrible.
I don't think anybody could fully follow most of what you said, just a few words here and there. So try again, and hopefully the connection will be better if you call back in. We have our call on the line from Shagonas. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning.
You asked whether agency could audit itself. There is nothing wrong with that. It's just an internal audit. And you also have with all government agencies the provision for external audits, right, which is mandatory. The problem is that the Auditor General was the person who to carry out those audits. But over the years, governments, for reasons best known to themselves, have allowed government agencies to use other auditors, and that causes the problem. As regards this thing with Tobago, and it's not the first time I hear people talking about this marina for Tobago. And the people, when you hear top government officials talking about it, who have the access to information, why don't they research it? Because my first remembrance of a marina was for Tobago was over 30 years ago. And this was to take place in the Plymouth area. And all the public service reports and whatnot was prepared and submitted. And under public service regulations, and all the things, you would have a main file. All you have to do when this thing comes up is go back to that main file and check it. Any questions?
No, I don't think I don't think we were questioning whether or not entities could complete an internal audit. We know that they could. In instances such as this,
they have to.
We were just wondering whether or not they should, especially in an instance like this.
The problem is it's gone on to the point in the realm of potential criminal activity, and an internal audit is essential. That clears you, that accounts for the ammunition, is basically saying, I have investigated myself and find myself not guilty.
No, that is the role of an internal audit. Then the external audit is supposed to continue after that.
No, we understand that.
And that's the point. That we agree with that. We agree with that. It can't end here.
But thank you very much.
Yes, we do.
Have a good day. We have a caller on the line with us from TSTT. Sorry, my apologies, from Dabadi. Good morning, caller.
Yes, gentlemen, you all hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you now, yes.
All right, thanks a lot. And I'll go straight into the point, and it deals with the playway, the legal playway that takes place throughout each and every nook and cranny in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
And you know, these places operate on our main roads. You see people standing up by little holes and they play. So you're telling me that the police don't see this, the police doesn't know that?
Exactly.
I pray to God that some action is taken against those officers and them in the Sandy Grande area. And these little things, if you all remember in the 90s when I think it was Giuliani had just taken over from Mr. Dinkins. I know your face too, and I was in the U.S. studying at that time. What had happened though is that they looked at the small offenses, the minor offenses, which led to larger things. So which if we look into these small offenses, as we say, which is not really small, because the persons and them indulging in this illegal playway might be also indulging in washing of money and all other illegal things. So, gentlemen, I will hang up here and listen on, and you'll have a wonderful day. There are much more I wanted to say. The senator made the non-appearance yesterday as a joke. She's a big educated person and joking about it, but she can't get out of her entrance. Foolishness. You know how far President House is away from St. Anne's Cascade? You guys have a nice day.
Have a good day. Have a good day.
I'll just say this. She took the fire onto herself. So communication-wise, her response was actually quite professional. I'll just say that on it. Other people might not like it, but I actually very much appreciated it. We have a call on the line from Claxton Bay.
Good morning, caller.
Yeah, hi. Good morning, Keaton and Small.
Good morning.
Morning.
You know, the quicker we could get to recognize that the opposition is not doing anything good for this country, boy, it will help us if we could get somebody, if we could get Amplia, Keaton, if we get you, who trying so hard to take that country and get some good members, we will be good to go, boy. Because them intention is not to have nothing good for this country. You know, look how we get carried away. I just thought we are one day people. You know, we have human trafficking. We have 3 members from that same party who saying this is not allegation, you know. This is facts. I hear them, I see them send all kind of message to Devon Maharaj. They call him all kind of name, all kind of thing because he's an Indian and he shouldn't talk out about the wrong things that are going on. We had to start recognizing Keaton and Small that we had to start, all of us as humans. We could make mistakes. And so therefore, we all have the interest of this country to go forward. And if we don't call out the wrong, whether it's Indian, African, Syrian, Chinese, we go be going down a road where today it go be me, and tomorrow it might be you, Keaton, and Small. That's how it go end up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Have a good day. I think a lot was said there, you know.
But that's actually a very important point where people get so caught up. Well, my side, my tribe, my whatever is fine, so I don't care. No. If they could do it to one group, eventually somebody will bring it back around and do it to your group.
I can only hope that the young people of Trinidad and Tobago see what's happening. Because it's unfortunate that they have some brilliant youth who have fallen into a trap because of an opportunity that was given to them. But that opportunity that's given to them comes with conditions. I'm speaking about young, brilliant people. Nothing is wrong with being a member of a political party or affiliating yourself. But when you realize that what is happening is not what is necessary, what is needed, what is required, and yet you go along with it because you have no other choice but to keep your position. I really hope that people outside of the realm, young people especially, will open their eyes a bit more. We are going down a very unfortunate path, but at the end of the day, it's our fault. We have created our own demise, as they say, so you make your bed, you shall lay. And quite frankly, that's just what we're experiencing now. The only thing that is going to change really is the individuals who actually are given that opportunity. And quite honestly, I'm very much disappointed at this time. I'm holding back.
Folks, the phone lines are still open for about the next 4 minutes, so call in. We could take probably one more call, 628-4578-623-9376. I'm wondering, the PNM is something of an institution. It will not fall apart easily, and it does have a significant amount of support and structure that allows it to have a high enough floor with regards to its relevance that I don't think it's reached the stage yet. But with regards to the UNC, as much as I think that there are members in the UNC who are worth their position and to some extent do a good job or have things to say that I want to hear, as a political entity, I do wonder, is it that it's more or less outlived its usefulness to the nation?
Not at all. It has not outlived its usefulness. I think perhaps the leaders within the opposition have outlived their usefulness. And the same could apply to the People's National Movement. Listen, there are not very many differences between the PNM and the UNC, Sean. And understand that. They're not
Well, there's one key difference.
And what is that?
The political leader of the PNM did not lose 2 general elections back to back and is still clinging on to power.
But this is why I'm saying that the usefulness of the individuals rather than the usefulness of the organization itself. I think also what we should understand is that, and I've said it before.
The reason why I pointed that out is the party seems to be quite content in leaving Kamala Persad-Bissess's
I've said it
opposition
before,
leader.
and I will say it again. The day that I see an Afro-Trinidadian at the helm of the United National Congress and an Indo-Trinidadian at the helm of the People's National Movement, that is when I know we have made a difference and we've made a change.
Last caller for the morning.
Good morning, caller from Santa Cruz.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
No, lovely. Your voice just sort of went away. But I just wanted to say that I was privileged to attend the inauguration yesterday of Her Excellency Christine Kangaloo. I was happy to see the numbers of people that were there. I was happy to see school children there. I don't know. I wish I had seen more of them. I don't know if these were primary school students. I know that students from St. Joseph's Convent, San Fernando, and Bishop Anstey were there. Hopefully the primary school students there as well. And all in all, it was just a blessing to be there. I think it's a privilege that the public gets an opportunity to participate, and wish more of them did, even though there was a good attendance. Marked sense of the opposition, though the leader of the opposition and her husband were there. It was great seeing former Prime Minister Basdeo Pandey's face in the audience. That was a good thing. The excuse that Miss John, who happens to be from Charlottesville, which is my family's village as well in Tobago, was so sort of absent in her response as to the absence of the opposition, which was in a way an unfair question, because it definitely did put her on the spot. But that sort of I couldn't get out of my neighborhood because Pintans is right over there. I came from Santa Cruz. I took 3 forms of transportation to get there. So, and even though I paid for the car in the city gate, the traffic getting to the Savannah was surprisingly smooth.
Traffic yesterday was actually good, yeah.
So,
all right,
that's all I'll say now, because I'm not hearing you guys.
All right, thank you.
Well, we were letting you. Yeah. I do wonder if you could hear us off, if there might be something wrong with that phone line, because I heard her dipping a little bit. Not as bad as the caller previously, but I do wonder if you might need to call TSCT again, Giza.
Also, I don't think it's an unfair question, and yes, perhaps she was put on the spot, but she is the deputy political leader of the United National Congress. She's also a senator, a member of the opposition. So being put on the spot many a times is probably second nature. It shouldn't be second nature, actually. You should be understanding that that is just
that is true.
It shouldn't be. So quite honestly, I think that it's not an unfair question.
Yeah,
it's very much justified.
From that regard, and I lament about this, usually about the government, because of course there's always things going on, so things that members of the government have to speak on. The opposition, not so much, but this is one of those few times when it happened, and one would hope that in a political organization, part of your structure would have people to advise its members with regards to communication, to settle on, okay, this happened, how are we as an entire organization going to treat with it? What is the message we're going to communicate so that we don't have people guessing or potentially contradicting each other? So what is good for the goose is good for the gander. I say that about the government. I have to agree, yes, they should be prepared to treat with these obvious things, because it just happened yesterday.
Apologies, let me just quickly correct myself. I said it shouldn't be second nature. It should be second nature. It should. My apologies. Anyway, with the time that we have left, and thank you to all our callers, today is World Down Syndrome Day. And there is a campaign that takes place every year, and it's called Get Your Lots of Socks On. Hashtag lots of socks. Now, according to worlddownsyndromeday.org, the idea for lots of your socks is to start a conversation. So when people see you wearing your mismatched socks, your fancy socks, your colorful socks, your very unique socks, and they ask you about it, you can tell them, well, I'm wearing this to raise awareness for Down syndrome. You speak to them about Down syndrome, what it is about, how we can help, and how we can bring awareness to it. And so this morning, some of the staff here at WSN we're taking part in the Lots of Socks campaign. I think we have a photo that we can... Sean, could you guess who is who?
Well, Keaton, I was there when it's taken. I would be cheating.
You didn't have to say that on it. You could have just gone along with the game.
Peter, I'm not a politician. I am not trained to being put on the spot. You don't do this to me.
Honestly, it's amazing how quickly you change robes, my friend. Anyway,
but wasn't it supposed to be mismatched socks?
No, it can be colorful socks. It can be just rather unique socks. It could be mismatched socks. It has to be lots of socks. You can wear any socks as long as it stands out.
I will be honest. With regards to my sock wardrobe, I'm very boring, so I don't really have any that stand out.
That's not applicable solely to your sock wardrobe.
That is, I would think so, yes.
And he was about to agree with it. Anyway, that's it for Talking Point this morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Not any way that you were thinking.
Anyway, as I said, lots of socks campaign today, bringing awareness to World Down Syndrome Day. But thank you to all our callers, and thank you to Miss John for joining us on the program this morning, and to our directors. I'm Keaton Shah, that's Sean Michael Small. Just remember, today is a good day to have a good day, and should things go good, we hope they do. Sean and I will see you again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
WESN